I can see you now. You're not making it. I can't do what you just did with that face you were making at me, but I can. Yeah, I can see you now. So, welcome back to another podcast. Welcome to Always Right. I am author Jamie Vendera, and this is
author Carissa DeLay.
All right.
Oh, I didn't start it with my British accent, though.
Oh, you didn't. I was going to try mine, but
sorry.
I can do crikey. That's about as close as I can get. Yeah, well, that's as close as I can get with this like Kentucky
Crocodile
accent.
Dundee or something.
Yeah, she be right, mate.
Yeah.
So, just because I spent time down there, so there we go.
Really? So, were the creatures pretty big, like the spiders and stuff?
I didn't get to see any of them. I ate kangaroo sausage. Didn't get any Vegemite.
Ew, you ate kangaroo?
I didn't know it until after it was in my belly. So I'm not happy about it, but it was good until I knew.
It could have been worse. It could have been human.
That's true.
I think that was
I wasn't in that part of Australia. So.
Or in that part of Jeffrey Dahmer's lair.
Yeah, no kidding. So today we're talking book covers.
Put that in front of your face. I didn't see that. Which one you did? Was that DNA?
Oh, this was DNA. I honestly can't wait till we finish RNA. It's too much light from a ring light in here to see it. There we go.
There you go.
DNA.
So are you working on RNA currently? Is that what you're?
I'm working on 11 books currently at the same time.
Oh, all right.
I don't know. I'm going to let you choose what I need to finish because you're like the marketing manager. You're like, nope. I want the angels and aliens done, or I want DNA and ties into RNA, ties into Siren. So we got RNA.
Yeah, but then you also have mermaids and aliens. So you kind of need to work on that series and finish it.
Well, that would be RNA, Siren, Dark Waters, and mermaids and aliens.
Well, there we go. We've just decided which ones you're working on.
All right, so I'll put off Spitfires, the last 6, and a couple others I got to finish, like Age of the Sigil 4. So
yeah. Because then you're going to put a big collab together and have a really cool book with all the symbols together. And
Exactly. Yes. We need to get that. We need more products.
Ties into book covers because book covers are essential to your... That is literally like your first impression. It is the first impression. Yes.
I mean,
I love going to Barnes & Noble and Books A Million and looking at the shelves and seeing which books pull me in. Do you ever do that?
Yeah, you know what? I've told this story on here before. That's how I got into fantasy when I saw the Elfstones of Shannara, and there was all these other fantasy books there, but there was this elf holding his hand, and it was glowing blue, and there was a troll, and there was a this person, that person, and it was just like it hooked me. And I've actually bought books because of book covers, and then the books really sucked.
But the book cover was amazing.
It was. It pulled me in. So that person made a sale. So the moral of the story is have a great book cover and a great book. Don't mix and match them. We want them both to be great.
Yeah. But here's what we're going to talk about. Let's talk about. So there's different things we're going to talk about. We are going to talk about book cover sizes when you are creating these to keep in mind. You also, while you're writing, want to keep in mind of what your story is telling. Don't put a bunch of daisies if it has nothing to do with the story. But okay, let's talk about, this is my first, for those who are watching, you can see the front cover of my self-published version of Crystal Gate. This is my oldest daughter on my living room floor. And then my photographer created this, and then this in the back, which you can see what I used to look like. Look at that. That was me with eyebrows.
Buried in the eyebrows. I think I got a few book covers where I chopped off all my hair.
That's funny.
And don't hardly have any beard.
So this essentially is the end of the book. And you don't know that unless you've read it. And one of my friends, Jenny Massey, she came to me when we did this. She's like, that's the end of the book. You're giving it away. I'm like, unless you've read the book, you don't know that. She's like, oh,
exactly.
So when we did a book signing, my very first book signing, she had suggested, I had painted a picture and it was kind of in the back of our tent. She's like, you need to put that out to bring people in. And I painted the reverse image of this. So this is a portal. So I painted from looking from the opposite
the other side.
Yeah, the opposite side of the book cover as if you were looking from the inside of the portal out. I painted that and put that out there, and I sold that painting for like $280.
Yeah, that's awesome.
And I didn't sell it at first. I literally had it at several book shows and an art show type thing. And a guy, he's like, I've seen this every time you've been here. Will you sell this? And I'm like, because you've asked so nicely, yes.
You know, you just gave a really good tip, though. You said, I put the end of the book on the cover, which authors don't. I mean, you can conceptualize your book cover, that's fine. But I wouldn't decide on a final cover until Carissa drops stuff. Until
usually it's you. So I'm just like, I'm kind of tapping
yes,
into your energy.
we're twins. Until the book is done, because it could change your mindset on how the book is going to. Like even with the DNA, it was because this young boy is actually partial alien, and he doesn't know it yet. So a case in point, and God rest her soul, I love this woman, Elizabeth Sabine, one of my vocal coaches. I republished her book for her. The first cover was with Hal Leonard. It was actually cool. It had a microphone. You knew it was about singing. But Elizabeth was in her 80s, and I wanted to make her happy. And actually, Anne McGee, my other partner for that book, we've talked about eventually redoing it anyway, now that Elizabeth has passed. But she's like, oh, I wanted to focus on me, which is fine. I got books with me with my face on the cover. But we did a picture of her, and she loves yellow, and she loves flowers. None of that has to do with singing. You only know it's a singing book because it says strengthening your singing voice. But in that situation, I love her and I wanted to make her happy. Yeah, it could have been a young pop singer or a rock singer with a microphone.
In that book, there are tons of pictures of her. There's tons of stuff with her in it.
And she's a celebrity. She was a celebrity coach. She worked with some really big artists. So it's all right that it's her brand and focusing on her. So having her face on the book isn't a problem. It's the fact that, we didn't go with a color that would suit that you're thinking about singing, or we didn't really have a microphone. We had flowers. So
futuristically, if I would have been a part of that, I may have suggested using flowers, but having the petals have like music notes on them or something, or the staff, or like the music bars somehow like incorporate.
Molly and I suggested this. It's really came down to giving her free reign to have the cover she wanted, and I was happy to do it.
That's what she wanted, then do it.
Yeah, but overall, and we're talking about a lady in her 80s. It's like, read the cover. Another one's like Flight 66. Well, for example, there's a cover that's nonfiction, and there is I'm branded. I have an app out. I use the Dr. Vox. So, and this was actually for the Dr. Vox book, so that's why that's it. So a lot of people know me as a coach. But a book like Flight 666, there's a plane, you see some fire, you see the skull, because this is a horror book. There's some crazy stuff going on this plane, and that's why we did that. So it was a horror book, something, and I'll let you take it over a minute. Age of the Sigil, a YA fantasy. It's based on these 4 sigils. A lot of it happens out in the forest with dragons and this and that, so that's the first cover for that. So you got to look at your genre. Again, with my books, we like to design covers that look like a movie poster you'd walk into the movie theater. Like, Age of the Sigil's coming out. There's the movie poster. So that's how we do this. It may be a little different than most people do, but in my mind, we were writing movie books and TV books. So like a movie book you could read in less than 3 hours. TV book you could read an episode or a chapter in less than 20 to 30 minutes. So, but it's got to suit your genre. It's got to feed the story. It's got to give some detail of that story.
Well, detail or alluding to the detail. So, let's see.
Well, even compare both of the covers. Yes, because that's the second cover to Crystal Gate. Yeah,
so comparing these two, so they both have the portals. There's both someone lying there. And so one of the things that is different is this is Alexis as far as at an older stage per se, at the base of the portal. Whereas this one, it's more childlike. And I remember my husband saying something about it's the more childlike. I'm like, but if you realize that this is something that's been haunting her whole entire life, and she just didn't know it. She didn't know these things were, like this crystal that had been passed down through the daughters of Eve was in her peripheral ancestry, essentially. So
yes, so I still love the first book cover, but the second one is more show, like it's kind of intriguing, and it actually matches the Four Rivers much better
right.
too.
So the Four Rivers one, which I'm very particular when you're doing your book covers, with consistency. Yeah, Jamie and we talk about this a lot. So when you see these, these are in, put them in proper order. You know that these go together. The font is the same. The layout's essentially the same. For focal points, one's not more busy than the other one. The color scheme is not exactly the same, but in the same hues, essentially, like the same palette. Not the same exact, but the same palette.
Yeah, and I totally agree. We've discussed this before, how even some of mine, I do keep the fonts the same, but there may be a cover. It's like, wow, that sticks out like a sore thumb. It's completely different. To me, Shifters and Shifters 2 is that type of cover. And,
but there's a consistency with Shifters to an extent.
Yes. Yeah.
With the logo is the same, and like there is a somewhat of a consistency to them. But like I was saying, like if you're writing a series, like those are a series. These are a separate series together. They're consistent. So you want that cohesive look to your covers that tell the story to an extent to bring in the reader without giving everything away. Because even knowing my front cover, you wouldn't know that's the ending until you've read the book. Like I have no idea what the portal has to do with someone laying on the ground. But
it does make you wonder. I'm like, okay, what is this book about? I gotta know.
Yeah.
Why is that girl laying there? Why is there some kind of portal there in front of her?
Well, and then so this one here, of course, this one you can see I have the compass. We have an isolated single tree. And the whole title is Before the World Was Lost, A Journey to Eden. So obviously Eden has a tree. And then we're going to discuss mapping systems and, like true north and magnetic north.
I hope I'm not messing this up, but did we not go over this cover and you sent me several different trees? Was that?
No, I sent several different trees to one of the artists that you use.
And I saw those trees. That's what it was.
Yeah. I would just send you the cover proofs and stuff like that. But essentially, I went with Tim Kruskamp because at the time he didn't have his camera, so I couldn't really. He was just he's not one to just use other people's art to manipulate. He likes to use his artwork and then manipulate his own artwork. So I understand that was kind of out of his comfort zone, not wanting to do that. But essentially, he came through and created an awesome, which is really funny, is because he is a flat earther, and he's like, it's really bothering me that I have to put this round earth on here. And I was like, just do it. No, I wasn't like that at all.
It's bothering me. I got to put an actual globe on here. Okay, no. Yeah. We won't go down that rabbit hole.
Yeah, that's again another podcast. Not this topic. So I had because it has to do with like the globe and everything in the world and positions of energy and things like that. So everything has a little hint to the story of what's inside. And that's like Canvas. You mentioned did you say not create your cover until you're at the end?
Yep. But I also said you can conceptualize this, because if you're halfway through the book and there's something that's a main theme and you're like, oh, yeah, like the Crisis artifact. I'm sure we started designing that cover before, but we knew there was this artifact that was broken in two. So, and I think I got it in here somewhere. Yeah, so even before the book was done, we knew there was an artifact that was found on these ruins and it had broken. And so we already set it up. So if you have an idea that is central, that's fine. But I feel like sometimes even that way, if you finish your book and read to the end, it might adjust some tails. Will it on canvas? No, because I absolutely love that cover.
Yeah,
it's direct. It's in your face. You see that face and those lips with the gold on it, and it ties into the story. So that's fine. But
Yeah.
just don't rush into a cover is what I would suggest.
Here's the thing. You also have to consider with your cover, what type of story are you writing? Mine are more suspenseful mysteries. So I have I like darker covers, even though my first one was pure white. The whole thing, I was going to do a whole white series. Like the series was going to go completely white. But like with Canvassed, the back of the cover is going to be a little more busy. Tim created the artwork for that. And it's going to be on the back side with some of the words, but it's going to have a little mystery as far as what's in the story as well. But I'm writing mystery, suspense, a serial killer novel. This is not something you want for a children's book. This is not something you like. Anne McGee's, her stories are set in different time periods. They're, young adult, more youthful. So her covers look more youthful. And even one of them is like a Scooby-Doo look to them because
the Marlette Manor books, the mystery books have that look, and they speak to that audience.
So you have to know your audience before you put that. Don't be like, I mean, and I've there's probably some amazing books out there that have been overlooked because of the cover. You know what I mean? Just because you're an amazing writer doesn't mean that's going to follow through with your cover work. So you have to find someone who can translate what your story is about onto an image. You know what I mean? There has to be a relationship. Like you have a relationship with Molly and Daniel that you create covers with all the time. I have a relationship with Tim. Tim can get in my head. You have to find that person and don't be afraid to say no, because I use Daniel for my interior work to lay out. He does a great job with my layout, but I don't communicate well with Daniel when it comes to what I'm trying to get, or Molly with what I'm trying to get, because I already have the image in my head.
Yeah, and it doesn't necessarily mean it's that connection. That's why I use them.
They do phenomenal work on your books.
Yeah, and Daniel knows this. Like he's like, "Oh, do you need me to do any of your nonfiction?" I'm like, "No, I have my circle." Molly knows exactly what I want. She's working on like even other authors like the Ian Lang books. She's redoing those as we speak, and she did the original, but we're going deeper. And you actually inspire me with updating those as well. Daniel does my 7-Eleven, my fiction, and he knows what I want. It did throw me for a minute because he's getting better. But even like Angels and Aliens and Mermaids, which will tie in Siren series, the DNA series, almost looks like a cartoon. And I'm like, have fought him on this for a minute. And he didn't grab an image. He literally rendered and drew these. And that's how they came to be. And he's like, we're very cinematic, and you got to realize DNA RNA is one series. Covers do not look like Siren and Siren Dark Waters. There are pictures of human, actual physical pictures on there, but they're still two different series. So you're bringing them together to have one final movie where they meet. It'd be like a Superman meets, Thor in some mashup in a movie, and you're like, yeah, I know. But it's like they're two different superheroes from different sides, and all of a sudden you come together.
Like Superman and Spider-Man, when they did Spider-Man, crossing over, when you had a few of those things crossing over on, you saw that on the comic cover, and you're like, this is going to be epic.
Yes, yes. So honestly, the way it looks, I absolutely love it now, and I'm like, okay, it inspires me to write the book, and apparently that's one of the ones I'm writing next now, according to this podcast.
Yes.
So
you've got to finish one of the series. You got to finish one of the series out.
All right. So we need to have a podcast on that.
What we should do is we should ask our readers, or oh my gosh, listeners? I think of readers because we're authors. Ask our authors, but we can ask our readers on Vendera which one they want you to finish.
I like that idea.
Yeah,
I honestly like that.
We'll do the Vendera, do a poll, which would you like to see author Jamie Vendera finish first? The RNA series or the DNA series and the Siren series, and then bring it into the Aliens and Mermaids, or would you like to see him finish the Shifters?
Age of the Sigil. Shifters is done. It's tied in.
Shifters is done, but it's which one are we? What's the other one that you have out there?
I don't even remember. I got to finish Age of the Sigil. I have to finish Spitfire, which is 6 books.
Spitfire, because you got 6 books for that one that you got to finish.
We're going to leave Mafia OC off the list. I want to do that last.
Okay.
I got to get into the Mafia mindset to do it. But
I don't have 11 books in my brain. I have several, I probably have 11 or so books on our list of one future, but right now I'm writing Canvassed. But then in the process of writing Canvassed, I've decided to write the next book I'm going to write is my aunt's story. Remember we talked about that. So
Which
I'm
is
already
nonfiction.
yeah, that one's a nonfiction. I'm going to tell the story of my aunt's murder from a serial killer. And I've already been thinking about the cover because at the end of this book, this serial killer novel, I'm going to put a little snippet with a picture of my aunt, who she was, a little bit about her, and to look forward to this book coming out next. And so I want to have that already prepared. So in my head, me thinking marketing wise, I'm already marketing the next book through this one.
That's smart. I mean,
But
you go to Kindle, and that's another podcast. And I've done that in the past. Always, because you can always update your Kindle. I mean, you can grab your file, you can update it, you can push other books so that they buy more in your series. So yes, market.
Yeah, so be thinking of like, and so I know you say you wait till the end, but if you're thinking at the beginning, write those things down. Like, here's an idea, or here's an idea. Don't hesitate with work, because Tim and I have been working on cover stuff for quite a while, even though the book's not done. Because I want, while the book is being edited and going through the construction mode after writing, I want the cover to be pushed and like coming soon.
Well, Carissa, too, I'm saying that, but then people can go to Vendera Publishing and click on 711 Press, and you see 11 book covers that are not released, that are not out yet.
But you're thinking like your very beginning one. Once you do a series, it's different because you're going to have somebody that's
because I've already conceptualized where they're going.
Right.
I'm just saying, don't rush into it. If you have a great idea, yes, write it down. You can work with a cover designer. But let us sit there as you're writing the book, and as soon as you're done and it's off the editor, relook at that cover and be like, man, I wish I would. You might have been like, I wish I would have had a pencil sitting on this table, because it is so important to this story. People won't get it till they read the book, but that lone pencil sitting on that table would actually set it off, because people are like, why is that there? Little details matter to me.
Well, and by the time we drop this episode, I'm going to have on the website, I'm going to have, if you need a book cover, you're just looking for a book cover, I'm going to have the information for Daniel, information for Molly, and the information for Tim, as well as myself, for any kind of reach out, like if you need help, we can help you. Like, obviously, we can have a small fee for the services that you may need, or we just may have free advice for you.
Absolutely.
But we're going to have a little section on Vendera Publishing. So if you go to www.vendera.com, or no, it's venderapublishing.com.
Publishing.com. Yep.
Yeah. You go to venderapublishing.com. You can click on one of the links for the Always Right podcast. And then down there, we can have stuff for you to kind of like, you have questions or anything about book covers, you feel free to ask us those questions.
Absolutely.
So something I want to also further on with book covers is not only the imagery, but say you decide to not go with an artist. Say you're an artist yourself. Like, I'm an artist. Even though I work with Tim, I designed this one back here, but he designed the back of my cover. I'm not going to design the complete layout. It's not my thing currently. But I'm going to take that cover, send it to Tim, and have him coordinate the cover he mixed for the back. And once we know how many pages I have, then he'll combine it together to create the spine.
Yeah, well, you're talking print book too, because that's anybody can learn it, but that's a whole nother skill set. If you're doing just Kindle or Barnes & Noble ebooks, a front cover may serve you fine.
Right.
But yes, if you're getting into print, it's
now we're getting into print.
And we probably that's another podcast we'll be covering, and I'm sure we already have talked about traditional.
It's on the list, talking about the print. But the thing is, with the book covers, you have to use high resolution pictures. Recently, when I designed the volleyball program for our daughter's volleyball team,
I remember.
Oh my gosh. And this is nothing against people, because not everybody is an artist, but the amount of people who sent me Word documents that were blurry, or images that were this small, that when I expanded, I'm like, ma'am, your face is blurry. I can't. Do you not have a high resolution picture? When I know they do, because I see the billboards. I know your billboards have high resolution pictures, so you
Correct.
have someone somewhere with a pic. Can I have that? People just send me stuff, and I'm like, you have to have that, or the print quality is not that great. And at a certain point, I was just like, okay, you get what you get.
Yeah, and I've been there before. Like, hey, I need a 300 DPI picture, a high res, and they're like, oh, here you go. And it's like, so it's a little thumbnail. You blow it up, it's grainy. I'm like, this won't work. Well, that's all I got.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, you transferring me a picture to my cell phone does not work. Go back and find the original source.
So recently, that used to be a challenge, but up until recently, me transferring a picture from my phone to my laptop was blurry. It wasn't, and it wouldn't translate to a JPEG. Now it will. Now I can get a high resolution picture from my phone to print.
I wonder if it's through cloud though.
I am airdropping it from my phone.
Yeah, that's it.
But it's from my camera roll, so it's whatever.
Well, I think sometimes when you text a picture, and again, I'm not the expert on this, or I know if I send something through Facebook or I send a video to one of my partners, they're like, hey, I really need you to put it directly into Dropbox because it's not the same resolution.
Yeah, and we do that with the posters. So, me adding the posters to Dropbox, we have all the images of our covers in a Dropbox file that we share with Daniel. But you were able to use those to print, the stuff that we have for our covers so we can have them in a larger scale. But if you take something that is this size and stretch it to something bigger, or even like a bigger poster if you're going to do a book signing, it's going to be blurry and it's going to look unprofessional. So, selling yourself is more than just putting words on paper. You have to make sure that you're giving the best quality that you possibly can.
Yeah, because you have a few seconds. If somebody's in a bookstore or even thumbing through books on vampires, for example, I'm going to pick a book if the cover grabs me. Mm-hmm. Even if it don't have 10,000 5-star ratings, it could be brand new.
Never check ratings.
Yeah, I never even look at ratings. I don't care.
Especially on Amazon, I don't follow. There's so many trolls that get on there, like competitive authors that want to downplay another author, or your ex nemesis from high school wants to like put stuff on there to make you seem like you don't know what you're doing. People do that.
Yeah, all the time. I've had it on Raise Your Voice, which is sold thousands and thousands of copies. Somebody gave it a 3-star and said, horrible book, 400 pages long, only 30 pages of useful information. I don't care. Don't bother me. Right? But I had some students that flipped out.
But the positive is they got 30 pages of useful information, so it doesn't matter.
Well, no, that's not true, because some of my students ate him up. I said, leave him alone. And I got on there, and it wasn't even a verified purchase. It said, I know this guy's lying because it's not a verified purchase, but more importantly, I put 32 pages of useful information in that book. And I laughed, and my friends and my students were like, what? Why? Why are you saying that? Why aren't you mad? Who cares?
Yes.
Who cares? No.
And then the thing is, when I do see reviews, most of the 5 stars in the beginning are all your friends and your family.
Yep.
Although, ironically, I've had a lot of friends and family not review my book when I'm like, you don't just review it? Like, what? I just don't know what to say. I'm like, say you love it.
Yeah, exactly.
But the 4 stars and the 2 stars, I feel, and the 3 stars are kind of where you you get a little honesty. The 1 stars, no, those people just be hating.
Yeah, and the 5 stars, again, it's people who know you or who are a fan or family. So I'd rather get a 3-star with an excellent review and critique and say, man, I love this, but he was too wordy and he could have said it in 200 pages. Then I would accept that, because I know for a fact Raise Your Voice is way too wordy. It was my first book. I overdid it, and I didn't cut stuff like we've talked about in another podcast, and I should have.
Yeah. But so we're just to refrain from getting too off course. Keep in mind your cover, that you have clarity in your words, you have clarity in your images, if you're putting something like mysterious on your cover, make sure there's going to be a little bit of a bleed. You have to keep in mind
I'm sorry. I was going through book covers. Is it that loud?
I don't know if that's translating through. Are you like...
I don't even see one. I want to check it now. I'm embarrassed. All right. So anyway,
Sorry.
consistency. Same thing with fonts. That's probably why you like shifters. I don't have the other book cover here, but it has that
I love
weird
this one.
shifter. So we did that on the other book, and the other book is red, and I'm sure I've shown it, or I'll have it back here in another podcast behind me in the future.
I like that one, but see, that's another thing. Whenever we talk about promoting yourself on social media down the road, having that consistency is very key when you're trying to make and put your multiple books in your series together, or just your book in general. Is it too busy? And then have like an ad that's not so busy. Like you got to kind of, figure that out. But yeah, book covers, back covers. Your back cover typically should have now the back cover of mine, I'm just going to try and not make as much noise as Jamie. The first one, the back cover, the first version has
no eyebrows.
No eyebrows, right? Well, I had eyebrows, but they were very tiny. Since then, I've been tattooed, so it's all good. But it gives a little synopsis, a little paragraph synopsis of what is happening with the main character, as far as to draw you in. Whereas after I had that book published for a little over a year, and I was working on the second one, and I got picked up by Vendera, then I already had Amazon reviews. So my second one has reviews of people that had verified purchasers on Amazon.
Which is smart. I mean, the back cover is it's if someone loves your front cover and they flip it over, they want to learn what the book's about. So if they read a review or they read a synopsis of your book, that's how you sell it. Yeah, of course that's a hardback, so you have it on the flap too.
Yeah, so these are the hardbacks, so they have like the little flap inside type thing. So yeah. And that's another thing is printing hardcover versus paperback. So also keep in mind that's something with your book cover design is knowing the size of your book. We typically do 5x9s, right? Or 6x9s.
It depends. I'll do a 5x8 for like a short fiction book, or a 6x9 for a hardback or a nonfiction. And we do 8.5x11 if it's like we got the Let's Party Here's How books by Robin Gillette, which that's for kids and doing parties for like Halloween. It's very colorful. So you do want a bigger size book if it's something like that.
Right. And so you have to keep that in mind that if you, in your head, I'm like, I'm going to have a 425 book or 25 page book because my Word document is 425 pages. That doesn't mean it's 425 pages when you put it in a book.
No, because we're
8x10.5 page sheet of paper on Word is not the same as shrinking it down to this, editing, cutting things out, and then the size of like inside there.
The font, it depends on how he does the interior design. So a lot of things can change. And honestly, you want a shorter book. I mean, if you write 420 pages in Word, but you don't take out any words, it's edited, it's still there, but you can change the book size or the font size and you can get it down to 330 pages, you're going to make more money because you're spending less in printing.
Yeah, so, I mean, to an extent, I argue that because I like big books.
Oh, I have no problem if you have something to say. I mean, look, Raise Your Voice is 400 pages. Could I have made it? Yeah,
most of Jamie's books, for people who are unaware, are, a little smaller, like they're thinner, but he has TV and movie books, so they're ones that are supposed to be read quickly. Whereas I like my books a little thicker with 2 C's. I like thick books.
Yeah, and even when we decide to because we only keep them out in Kindle and ebook now, but when I like Crisis Trilogy, it's actually 3 books. We'll put those together and it'll be a 350 page book as one book, just in 3 parts. So that's fine for prints. So you just have to look at your medium. Where are you selling now? Are you doing Kindle and print? Just Kindle, print, and you figure out as you go along, which will cover all of this in podcast. So,
yeah.
Oh, what that was? That was your time saying, "Hey, it's time to end this podcast."
Are you tired of talking to me? Is that what you're trying to say?
No. I'm getting my brain ready to teach for 9 or 10 hours.
Yeah, you're going to teach for 9 or 10 hours, but you're also going to have to go be a plumber.
Let's not even talk about it. So, some miracle maybe my sink will drain. But that's another podcast. No, I'm just teasing.
I am not having a plumbing podcast. That would be very boring.
Unless we publish a plumbing book.
No. What? I mean,
Right.
you know what? That is actually an idea. You could be all the things I've had to do that have nothing to do with what I'm actually certified to do.
Because it's every week. You're like,
it is every week.
Yes. I got to get a kitty fixed. Do I do a kitty show? I got to bury a cat. Oh, I got to change the rubber roofing. I got to do this. I got to do this. Yes. That's just life.
In Ohio, apparently, because I don't do any of that stuff.
I already told you, so I want to live in 3 tiny houses.
Yes.
Well, me and my wife will sleep in one. One is a library and workout room, and the other is where I teach voice and write books. So, in Florida.
Yeah, in Florida, yes. And by the time you get that done, I'll be gone living in Europe.
Yeah, I was going to add that, but hey, at least you can come back and visit. I'll have a 4th tiny house for you to stay.
For visitors, yes. Okay. All right. Well, so we went over as much as we possibly can with book covers. We'll get more into the book interiors in another episode, but hopefully we've helped you with kind of like thinking about your book cover as you're writing, or if it's not a book, thinking of your album covers when you're writing your... Sorry, this is going to be a little bit longer. I did design a CD cover one time for someone.
Huh.
I don't know if I ever told you that.
No.
Oh, it was awesome. Yeah, it was really cool because I'd never done that before, but it was one of these things that like was trifold. So like there was the cover and then there was the interior, then all this stuff. Yeah, it was really good.
Then I should have you design my thumbnails for the singles that we release.
Hey, I would totally do it because it was so much fun. Like, I mean, I did most of it just digitally with stuff, but it was a lot of fun creating his
CD cover.
It was called Blood Moon. So Morgan Washam, very talented artist.
Cool.
Yeah. He was always very great with the community stuff. Like, hey, we got this community event coming. You want to come play with your peeps? And he was great with it. And he's got a great voice, but yeah, so I got to do that cover. It was super cool. But like when you're designing your artwork for anything, whether it's poetry, whether it's, something short, whatever you're designing cover wise, think of what's inside.
Exactly.
Does it tell you what's inside? Is it portraying to the person, this is what's inside, so you get a taste and you get like the craving for more, like, am I going to want to open this up? Or is it being like, this looks stupid? You know what I mean? So.
Nope, I dig it. That's definitely, you want to give them a peek so that they want to buy it.
Yeah. All right.
All right. Well, again, if any of you need cover work help, come to the websites. We have great cover designers that can help you, and we'll make sure that you're taken care of.
Yes, and you can always reach out to us on any of our socials. Always Write Podcasts on Instagram and Facebook, and then we also are going to have our YouTube channel up. Probably by the time you're listening to this one, it should be up with some of the episodes, and you can comment there. But you can also email us at alwayswritepodcast@gmail.com for any questions, comments, or upcoming episodes that you'd like to hear about. So please reach out, and we'll talk to you next time. And thank you for listening.
I am author Jamie Vendera.
And I'm author Carissa DeLay.
See you in the next podcast.